I'm at 2520 Frank Street in Villa Hills, Kentucky, doing a sanitary lateral inspection. This is for the selling of a home. This is a pre-sale inspection just to see what kind of condition everything is in. So, looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything like that. The access point is, you can see here is the basement. And right here by the back door, there is a hanging sewer that goes out high. There is also a restroom over to in the right rear corner if you're facing the house. This is about the center of the back of the wall. The bathroom is lower, so there is lower plumbing, so I expect this to go out, wrap around the house, and tie into a lower line. So, hoping, because this looks like it goes into cast iron immediately as it exits the house, and it should turn to one side or another. And it looks like it's making a right, which would mean it's going around the right side of the house. So far the cast iron looks really good, but cast iron is a weird material due to the fact that it does rust, so there's never really, you never really know what the life expectancy is. They say it's roughly 75 years from installation, but it could depend on soil conditions and the thickness of the pipe that was put in. And so what we're looking for here is just any structural issues, any obvious holes or cracking. It looks like this is all in really good shape over here. I expect the line to drop to catch the other line. So we have some root intrusion, but it looks like it's been either had some chemicals on it or something. But there is right here at this joint at about 45 feet here, there's some root intrusion, and so we'll note that. But doesn't look. I mean, it does look like it could cause an issue in the near future, but right now it looks like the line is open. Okay, and now looks like we're going over and we're going to drop off and drop down to that lower line. What I may do here is I'm going to see if I can make it through this, but this looks like there should be a clean out in this spot. So it may be tough for me to get past these turns, being that it drops straight down like this, and then it should flatten back out once we get to the bottom. Looks like this bottom line looks like it turns to clay, which would be good for the remainder of the line, but we have to make sure that we get into the top of this drop off. We're about 52 feet out, and I don't think it's going to make that turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back to the top to where the line, if you look in the bottom left hand corner, you can see the angle of the camera, how it's laying. So it's still facing down, and then once I get it to flatten out here, I'm going to go locate this. I'm going to see if we can find an outside clean out to be able to access so we can inspect the remainder of the line. Because with all these turns and that drop off, it's going to be pretty hard to get the camera to exit towards the main. So I'm going to pause the video here to get that located. Okay, so we were able to locate an outside clean out, cast iron clean out. Just before this is where those roots are, and so those will need to be treated or cleaned, and then I'm going to make a move here. It's only about 49 feet to the clean out, and this is 44, looks like 45, 44, 45 feet with some root intrusion there at that connection. So that'll have to be cleaned, but hopefully that's all we have. And so this will be in two sections here. I'll be able to say that's 44 feet from the rear clean out, or from the first clean out, basement clean out, we'll say that. And then the backyard clean out will be the next section of video. But the good news is the cast iron looks really good up until that 45 foot mark, and then you have just one section of roots, and then we'll see. It looked like at the bottom that it dropped into clay. Hopefully we're able to get all the way out to the street from there. Okay, so first 45 feet there from the clean out. The cast iron all looked really good with the exception of that spot at 45 feet where looks like a joint that is allowing in some root intrusion, and then so that'll have to be cleaned. But I'm going to pause the video now. I'm going to move the equipment outside, and then we will continue from the outside clean out. Okay. So we're going to continue this inspection from this outside clean out. You can see there is the back door, here is the garage door, and here is the clean out. Basically almost right in line with that garage, the back man door for the garage. So dropping all the way down to the bottom. This is pretty deep, and then it looks like we are going into here. Get this moving a little bit. Hard to see what I'm doing. Looks like it's making a turn almost immediately when I get to the bottom also. But, okay, I've got it moving. So it is still cast iron. Just a weird little cutout. So the line's a little blurry. I'm going to see if I can push out as far as possible, and then we'll take a look a little bit better on the way back. So this is making some weird funky turns, unless I just went backwards into the toilet. So I'm going to pull back, I'm going to take a look for a second and locate exactly where this is. So I'm going to pause the video again. Okay, so what's happening here is I'm actually going upstream into the house, went backwards instead of going downstream. The camera somehow went backwards. So we got to pull back. The good news is we saw this branch, which is where the toilet, the downstairs toilet comes out, the basement toilet. And so it is open. I don't see any major damage. Again, the cast iron is something that is a little finicky as far as knowing what kind of shape it's in, but it looks good. It is open and flowing, so it is functioning. But Now what we need to do, see if we can get the camera to go downstream.
Man, I can't believe you found that. That's crazy.
Oops, I paused it and unpaused it real quick on accident, but I was able to get it to go downstream. This is a lot easier pushing. So this is still cast iron. Looks like we're heading out towards the corner of the building and we're making another turn. And hopefully at this point we're heading out towards the street. Good news is, for cast iron, this looks pretty wide open. It is fairly strange to see cast iron run all the way out to the street like this, but I think originally this was on a septic tank, and then when they ran sewer down the street, it was probably in the late 60s, early 70s. That's about the only time they really used cast iron on the outside very often. So we're going to push as far as we can, and then we'll take a better look at this on the way back. Cast iron also kind of makes it tough on the camera because it's like pushing across sandpaper because it's so rough, so it's not as easy to push through. Okay, I'm going to pause the video for a second. I'm going to see how far out I am. See how close we are to the main and how much further we may have to go. Okay, well, I'm going to try to run some water down through there, but the hose bib must be turned off inside and I don't have access to the house right now. So, we're going to see how far we can get from here. I'm probably just about at the street, I'd say. Getting really hard to push. I'm getting to the point where I can't really push much further without any water running behind it. I just want to make sure that we're off the property. So I'll try to go to about 120 here and okay. I think that's about as far as I'm going to make it. We'll pause the video again, get a locate, find out how far out we are. Alright, so the line looks, this spot, I'm sorry, I made it all the way out to the curb. We're still about 30 feet from the main, but there's no way I can get this to go 30 feet without a lot of water running behind it. And that's if I'm lucky. We did 50 feet of pipe from the inside, another 120 here. So we've inspected about 170 feet, and it's probably roughly 200 feet total to get to the main, which is a long way without multiple cleanouts. And so normally there's a cleanout about every 100 feet or so. But in this case, because of when this was put in, there is not. And so I can try to inch it forward, but there's no way that yeah. So we're going to pull back and we'll take a look at the line, but it looks wide open as far as cast iron. It does look rusty, obviously. And the only problem I found on the way out was on the other section of pipe, and we found that root intrusion, probably from this big tree here in the back corner, and that was at about 45 feet on the high line. So yeah, this actually looks really good for cast iron. It's wide open. It doesn't have a whole lot of buildup in it. So yeah, this line looks really good for cast iron, that's for sure. Let's say even if there were any weak spots in this line right here, you would be able to see it pretty easily. See, went out to the side and turned. And vertical now, we're coming back up out of the clean out. And there we go. So, good news is, the line from this point out looks really good. We went out 120 feet from this clean out, which is about to the curb. Usually anything beyond that would be the municipality's issue anyway. The property, stops at the curb. Just depends on what area you're in. But the thing is, the line looked good for the entirety of it from this clean out. We talked about the cast iron in the beginning of the video, just about the nature of it and the rust and everything. It eventually will rust through, but you never really know when. And so, as of right now, it's open and flowing as designed. And so, the only problem was in the first 50 feet from the first clean out on the inside. At about 45 feet, there was some pretty decent sized root intrusion that should be taken care of as soon as possible, just to try to get it through there. And then you could add some root X in there maybe once a year to try to make sure that that stuff doesn't grow even back to the point where it's at now. But So to sum it up, I'd say you do a cleaning for the roots, add Root X about once a year, and then the rest of the line from the outside clean out on, that 120 feet is in good shape and is open and flowing at time of inspection. So that'll end the inspection at 2520 Frank Street in Villa Hills, Kentucky.